Look at you, finally playing the best profession in Guild Wars 2, and that is the Ranger. You're someone who loves the countryside, going on that journey in an open world, and thankfully Guild Wars 2 has a fantastic open world experience. Not only that, you're also somebody who enjoys smoking some pipe weed in the back, and dare I say, looking pretty cool. So now that you've picked the Ranger to play, you're going to need a build. And in this video today, we're going to go over a core Ranger spec, mostly focusing on the longbow, but it's going to be a great foundation for new and returning players that are jumping into the Ranger class fantasy. Now, before we get started, this is how the video is going to break down, and if you're new to the channel and you like these builds for Guild Wars 2, consider hitting that beautiful like and subscribe button, and yeah, let's get started. Now onto the trait section. Our first specialization we're going to be picking up is Marksman, and this is going to grant us opening strike. So our first strike outside of combat, when we're entering in combat, is going to inflict vulnerabilities on whatever targets we're hitting. For our first column here, there's a couple good choices. We have Hunter's Gaze here, so as we're just plinking away at enemies, we're going to be getting stacks of might, and as they get lower, we're going to get even more stacks of might, which is increased power. This is just default really good. Another good one is Clarion Bond, so if we swap our pet, we're going to be granting ourselves Fury, Might, Swiftness, and then if the target or enemy is close to us, we're going to be giving them the weakness condition, so they're not going to hit as hard. This can be good too, so one of these two choices is what I would go with. Next up, we get Alpha Focus, so our opening strike inflicts Cripple on our foes. Now, Cripple is a movement impairing debuff, so keep that in mind. Next up for our second column here, we have a couple good choices here, but I'm going to go with Farsighted because this is default going to give us 10% more damage. But if we're at that 600 range threshold, it's going to be a 15% damage. And even something like if I swap my weapon here, our hatchet, 900 range is the maximum you can throw this thing. So as long as you're hovering at the maximum range, again, 15% more damage, that's really good. Shouldn't be a problem if we're using something like a longbow. And then next up we get Precision Strike, so our opening strike is 100% going to crit. This is a nice bump in damage. And for the third column here, honestly, all these choices are pretty good. So we get Predator's Onslaught. You and your pet deal increased damage to disabled, defiant, or movement impaired foes, and that's 10% more damage. The movement impairment, something like Cripple, which we picked up with Alpha Focus, so that can be good. Next up we have Remorseless. This is going to regain our opening strike whenever we gain Fury. And also our opening strike is going to do 25% more damage. Now this can be really good because we're going to be granting ourselves Fury a lot with this build. Now the last choice in this column is Lead the Wind. And what I like about this is our longbow skills here, because we're mostly focusing on the longbow, those skills are going to recharge 20% faster. Also, those shots that we're doing, those arrow shots, are going to do piercing. So they're going to go through a target and there's something behind them, it'll hit them with that. Also, our point blank shot is going to grant us swiftness and quickness. Both really good boons. Mostly quickness is actually the really good one there, but this is synergizes with our longbow. So really, any of these choices can be really good. For this build in this video right now, I'm just going to go with Lead the Wind. Now the next specialization we're going to pick up is Wilderness Survival. This is going to give us a lot of survivability, but also some key components to help us do a lot of damage as well. The first thing we get here is Natural Vigor. This is going to increase our endurance bar by 25%. And just maybe you new players don't know, but yes, in Guild Wars 2, you can evade, and it's indicated by this little bar above your health here, your health bubble here. And yeah, this is going to recharge faster when we pick up Wilderness Survival. And don't forget, yeah, you can evade in Guild Wars 2. Amazing. Anyways, first column here, we're going with Child of Earth. So create muddy terrain when we use our healing skill. The healing skill we're going to be picking up is a survival utility skill. So we'll stow this for a little bit, but just know there's going to be a lot of synergy because of the choices we're making. Next up, Companion's Defense. We get protection, and our pet does as well, whenever we roll, but we have to be inside of combat. And I say roll, but I also mean evade here. We just talked about that a little bit. So every time we roll in combat, granting protection. Really good. And then next up in the second column, we're picking Survival Instincts. This is going to grant us more damage, but also decrease incoming damage at certain health thresholds that we have. This is overall just a damage increase. It's just kind of passively working in the background, something we don't need to worry about, but again, more damage for us. And then our last default passive we get here is Rugged Growth. Every time we grant ourselves protection, we're also going to heal ourselves. And this really just synergizes with Companion's Defense because every time we evade, it gives us protection while we're in combat. And then in the last column here, we're going with Wilderness Knowledge. Our survival skills in our utility line there are going to grant us Fury and remove conditions. This is all going to synergize beautifully with our last specialization trait line. Now for the last specialization that's going to kind of bring this whole build home is skirmishing. This has a lot to do with swapping your weapon, but we're not going to be focusing on that too much. First passive we get here is Tailwind, swap our weapon, grant ourselves swiftness. First column, I'm going with sharpened edges. Every time we crit, there's a chance we're going to apply bleeding. Bleeding and condition damage isn't really a focus, but it is going to be a damage bump with this build, and I think it's just the best in this first column. The next passive we get is Furious Grip. We gain Fury when swapping our weapons. Again, more of that swapping style. Now for the second column here, I think we have two choices. You can go with Strider Strength, and we're not really focusing on a sword, but it's an option. We're going to be getting a default 120 power, more damage. Other than that, doing hidden barbs here, our bleeding that we're inflicting does 20% more damage. And we are going to have some synergy with bleeding, it's just we're not going to be focusing on condition damage. But either way, plus 20% damage for bleeding, that's pretty good. So one of these two. Next up for our passive, we get Hunter's Tactics. So when we're striking from the side or behind a target, we're going to get an increased 10% damage, just default, and 10% crit chance as well. This is really great, especially because as a ranger, you know, it's very easy for us to just do sidestep and start hitting an enemy from the side because our pet here is probably going to be taking the aggro for most enemies. Now for the last column here, there's only really one choice, and that is Vicious Quarry. Our Fury that we were going to be granting ourselves is going to bump our crit chance up to 40%. We also get some just default ferocity as well. But what that 40% increase to our crit chance is going to do is, with our precision stat, we only need it hovering somewhere around 60%. You can see right here, I'm scaled down. So right now that 22% isn't accurate. In level 80 zones, it's 54%. So if I can get that up a little bit higher, basically every time I have Fury, it's going to be 100% crit chance, which is going to be really good. So with this build and these specializations, we are really self-sufficient as far as granting ourselves Fury, which is going to just increase our damage by a lot. But let's move on over to the stats section now. Now, real quick with the weapon stats, of course, we're just focusing on power, precision, and ferocity. The Berserker set, always really solid for that. Also, I do have some pieces that have like the Marauder set, so that little bit of vitality. I mean, hell, back in my day, when the Heart of Thorns, that first expansion came out, Marauder was like the new stat selection, and it was actually pretty goated because that little bit of extra vitality helped you survive these very dangerous maps upon release. So love the Marauder set as well. Little bit of a hit to damage, but overall still very good. For our Rune set, I actually have the Rune of the Pact, and this is mostly for that precision, but again, any rune set that is providing you mostly with power is going to be really good for a setup like this. And then for our relic here, we are going with Relic of the Claw every time we disable a foe, which is going to happen a lot because we have a lot of movement impairing debuffs that we can put on the enemy or conditions. We're just going to get 7% more damage, just again, more damage. Now your weapons, same deal here. We're obviously going with the longbow, but I have the Superior Sigil of Force and then the Superior Sigil of Fire. So every time, really it's that fire one that's a little bit different, where every time we hit a foe with a crit, it'll do a fire blast in a little area. So a little bit of AoE on top of an already great setup here. And then I'm using a horn and an axe. And then, so for the horn here, I have this Superior Sigil of Accuracy. That is going to be a plus 7%, just default to our critical chance. So if we actually swap over to our axe or our hatchet, it's hatchet, axe, same thing, and horn, you can see that our crit chance is at 60%. When we grant ourselves Fury, that's going to be 100% crit chance. So very easy to kind of hit that again, that 60% crit threshold, especially again with the Superior Sigil of Accuracy. But again, doesn't need to be exactly at 60%, just somewhere in that ballpark. But those are the weapon stats and the runes we're going to kind of be prioritizing. Let's move on over to the weapon and utility skills section. Now onto the skills section, but before we actually get into the skills here, as a ranger, you get to find pets out in the world. And I'm not going to tell you with this build which pets to pick. I would just get whatever you want. I always just go with the wolves because I like wolves and I have my own wolf. Let's go get her real quick. Here she is. Here's my own wolf here. So just kind of go with what you want. Sorry, I'm not going into the Beastmaster line. Okay, baby. Bye. She's like, did you really just pick me up to show me off for like 2 seconds? The answer is Yes, baby, I'm sorry. Now back to our weapons. Longbow here. You have your long shot. This is just a normal plank, but remember, because of our marksman specialization, our shots here can pierce through 5 targets, which is a lot. So it's kind of your basic hitter here. Then we have rapid fire. The best thing about this is your main damage dealer, in my opinion, because it's going to be every shot, it's going to put on a vulnerability stack, which is going to increase your damage. And again, because it can pierce, you can be putting on, as long as things are lined up, a lot of vulnerability stacks on a lot of targets. Again, they have to be kind of in a line. After that, we do have Hunter's Shot here. This grants you invisibility, stealth, and then swiftness as well. This is actually really good for repositioning. Say you're taking on too much pressure, you pop this and then you can just kind of reset up yourself further away. And next up is point blank shot. This is really good because not only is this going to push a target back, but it's going to grant us quickness and swiftness as well. And you can see that the range on here is 1200. That's still really far, especially for something called point blank shot. Really good there. And then the last ability here is Barrage. This is a heavy damage dealer, but also puts on that crippling effect. Again, because of our specializations, our traits, we have some synergy against enemies that have that movement impairment on them, which again, cripple is one of them. So just these Mordrum here, really simply, let's send in our wolves so they get all the aggro, and then we can just open up with Barrage. Yeah. One of them's coming after us, hit them with point blank shot. You just melt them down. Like this, they're dead. It's very simple, very easy with our bow here. Very safely from range. Love it. Additionally, what are we doing with our utility picks here? Well, we're picking mostly survival abilities. So we have Troll Undead here. I think this is really just like troll oil, like the oil that comes off their skin. Gross. Anyways, this gives you health per second. So kind of like a regen, a very heavy regen when it comes to health. But also, because of our traits, remember, every time we use a survival skill, we grant ourselves Fury, get a little bit of Ferocity, and then it also removes 2 conditions. So this is kind of, again, another offensive tool in our kit, again, to grant us Fury. Other than that, we get Quickening Zephyr here. Oh, this Cavalier wants to get it. This is also just going to give us quickness, so we just stacked a little bit by using Quickening Zephyr on top of Point Blank Shot. But it grants us Fury as well, and it's our Stun Break. And remember, also, additionally, removes 2 conditions. This build is really good at removing conditions, by the way. We have just a lot of ways to do it. Next up, I am taking a Sharpening Stone. We have a little bit of synergy with Bleeding, but again, just default by being a survival skill, more Fury. 100% Fury uptime, guys. It's really good. But any of the other survival abilities are really good too. Muddy Terrain, this is going to keep enemies at a distance because it does have 900 range. So that's pretty good for stopping targets from coming after you. And again, with all those movement impairment conditions on them, we have, again, we're going to be doing just more damage. So those are the kind of the choices I'd be going with. And then the last utility pick, maybe go with Signet of the Wild. This is just going to increase our ferocity just passively 180. So this is just default good. You can trade this out, honestly, maybe if you want to slot in 2 or all 3 survival skills. That can be an option. Now for our elite skill, I'm going with Strength of the Pact, but also something like Entangle. This is another survival ability, but you have to be within that 600 range radius. And again, with focusing on Longbow, I want to stay as far away as possible so I can just shoot arrows into a target safely. And Rampage here, or Strength of the Pact, this is kind of just kind of default. It's going to grant us Fury just as a skill, and then Stability, Swiftness, and Power. Just something to pop whenever. Okay, Mr. Nomad, where are we bringing this build? I would mostly stick to the open world. Something like meta events, world bosses, even convergences. I think this really shines because you're very self-sufficient. We're not relying on anybody else to give us buffs or Fury. Again, self-sufficient, but we're also not providing something like all these buffs to our allies either. We're very selfish and self-efficient here. Now, something like Sharpening Stone, another reason why I use it here is because it's not, we don't have to target the ground. We just pop the ability, it gives us our Fury, great. If we use something like Muddy Terrain, then we're going to have to ground target it, which it's fine. I'm just lazy, so I want to basically just use Barrage as my only target ability, and everything else I can just focus on, you know, plinking away at a distance like every ranger wants to. But that's what I mainly stick towards. You can use this in something like, oh, look at all those piercing damage shots we're doing. Very safe. You can use this in something like the quick play fractals, but I would stay away from raids, because raids, you really want to be bringing like either raw damage and then maybe like one really impactful boon like alacrity or quickness, and then you're also stacked tightly together. This build and the playstyle that we're going for, we're staying at range. I want to be as far away from the targets as possible, just doing damage at a safe distance. When they get close to us, we use our hunter shot, we go invisible, and then we can just reposition, open up with barrage again, and then all of our survival abilities we just proc whenever we need fury. Because again, fury is basically giving us 100% crit chance, which I don't know about you guys, I love seeing those big old red numbers from a distance. And again, we're very, very safe. But yeah, guys, that is the build. That is the video. Let me know how you like to play your core ranger. This is just the foundation, and then from here we can move on to specializations for ranger. But this is the build that I used on our latest playthrough through the story, the base story, and we just absolutely wiped the floor with it. But also, I mean, this is like the best ranger fantasy, or the whole point of playing ranger. We're sitting up here on the wall here, safe distance, and just raining hell upon anybody down below us that, you know, is within range. This is kind of like the whole point of the build. It's very, very powerful for that. Kind of just get to sit back and do your ranger thing, and everybody else is very jealous about it. But that's enough yapping from me. If you guys made it this far, I appreciate the hell out of you, and I'll see you next time. Peace and take care.